Okay, continuing on with section 1.3, we've talked about addition and subtraction of fractions. We've talked about addition and subtraction of decimal numbers. We've talked about multiplication and division of decimal numbers, but let's talk about multiplication and division of fractions. Two rules that are very important to us here go like this. If we want to multiply two fractions, a times b times c over d, if we have two fractions, the normal advice is that we multiply across numerator to numerator, a times c, try that again, a times c divided by b times d. Well, of course, if there are common fractions, if there are common factors in the numerator and denominator, we should, of course, simplify. So I'm going to say, and simplify. Division, sort of similar to multiplication in a way, goes like this. Let's say that we have a fraction a over b, and we want to divide it by c over d. We think of division this way, a divided by b times the reciprocal of the second fraction, d over c, and so we would multiply straight across. Just as in my last rule, of course, we should also simplify. One thing of note, if we take two fractions and divide them, very often we might see this arrangement, a over b divided by c over d, which means the same thing as our division above. So let's do this with our two fractions right here. Let's say we're going to take negative 5/6 times positive 3/10. Now, of course, the result is going to be a negative number, because we're taking a negative times a positive. So remember our sign rules, we can do the multiplication directly. One thing to recognize is that if I've got two fractions multiplied by one another, I know that 5 over 6 times 3 over 10 will come out to be whatever 5 times 3 is over whatever 6 times 10 is. Yes, I know what they are, and so do you. But let's take for the moment, before we actually do this multiplication out, a moment to look at what we can do to reduce this fraction, because we're going to come up with a large number like negative 15 over 60 if we do that directly across. But we might note that there are some factors that can be reduced here. I will point out, for example, that 5 divides evenly into 10 two times. Not only that, but 3 divides evenly into 6 two times. So in fact, our fraction multiplication was equivalent to multiplying 1/4, negative 1/4, 1/2, pardon me, times 1/2, which would become negative 1/4 when we reduce it. And of course, 15 goes into 64 times. So yeah, our fraction right here could have been reduced right from the beginning without even having to go through a lot of the multiplication. So if you have two fractions that you're multiplying, reduce prior to actually multiplying the numbers down. Simplify at the earliest possible moment in your calculation. Always good advice. All right, let's take negative 5/6 and divide it by positive 5/9. In this case, these two fractions are going to be multiplied directly as negative 5/6 times the reciprocal of the second fraction, 9 over 5. We only take the reciprocal of the second fraction right here. Again, before we do the multiplication, we might note any common factors that can be reduced out. And sure enough, here's a big one right there. These 5s cancel out with each other, leaving us 1. And of course, with our other numbers right here, 6 and 9 are both divisible by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. In essence, we're multiplying 1/2 times 3 over 1. Well, that's going to become negative 3/2. Leave these fractions in improper form. Don't make it a mixed fraction. Improper form only means that the numerator is larger than the denominator. That's okay. We don't mind that. As a matter of fact, we prefer it in this algebra class. That's our answer, and we're done.